Magandang hapon po. This is the last afternoon of our conference. And before anything else nga pala, Kat, no, I'd like to remind everybody, no, or hindi pa pala remind, kundi inform pa lang everybody that as we exit this conference later this afternoon, there's going to be an evaluation. Please fill up the evaluation forms later because that will be the basis for issuing our certificates of attendance to this conference. Yung hindi mag-fill up ng evaluation will not be given certificates of uh, of uh, of attendance. Okay. So now to proceed with our program, our next speaker is Miss Rachel Aquino. Che is the managing trustee of MedNet and is a certified mediator by the Office for Alternative Dispute Resolution of the Philippines of the Department of Justice, or OADR. Che is a born trainer. She has been training mediators for the past 25 years. And she also teaches environmental negotiation and communication at the Ateneo de Manila University. She's also on the last year, I think, of her doctorate at the University of the Philippines. So Che this afternoon will be discussing resolving political differences. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Che Aquino.
Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Kakaiba itong aking presentation. Una, ito yung pinakamaikli siguro sa lahat ng plenary presentations na maririnig ninyo sa 2 araw na ito. Pangalawa, ito ay magfo-focus sa isang conflict within an organization involving political differences. Bilang backgrounder, sa University of the Philippines, mayroon tayong mga organizations na sinasalihan bilang estudyante. May it be an academic organization, a religious organization, a socio-civic organization, or a fraternity or sorority. And I was a member of one such organization. And as you would know, itong mga organization ito, they become your friends for life. And that is true to myself. One organization where I was a member of, yung members remain true friends up to now. But during the 2016 elections, what happened was that something disrupted this good and harmonious relationship in that organization. Members sided either with Duterte, we call them Duterte diehard supporters or DDS, or were anti-Duterte members. And as you know, social media was very, very active at that time, especially Facebook. And there were exchanges in social media that led to pikunan. Ano bang English sa pikunan? Hindi ko alam. And later on, degenerated into threats, blocking, unfriending, and name-calling, no? Mga name-calling such as bakla ka, o supot ka, or tanga, bobo, gago. Yung mga ganyan, no? It got so bad that when 2 members died successively, some prominent personalities involved in the conflict refused to participate in the tribute ceremonies for the deceased members because they do not want to be even in the same virtual room together. Kahit online na yung tribute, they would not want to be associated even virtually with some of the other members of the other camp. So it got so bad that right after one such gathering, one former president, because you have so many presidents of an organization, one former president, Jacob, I will call him Jacob, and myself, one who is trained on mediation, spoke regarding the possibility of spearheading a process of healing and reconciliation for members who have been affected by differences in political beliefs and convictions. And Jacobs was saying, how do you resolve politics? It is all politics. And I said, I believe politics cannot be negotiated nor mediated, but behavior can. We can call out unacceptable behavior and raise it as an issue. And members should be able to agree to disagree, but threats, for instance, are unacceptable. Threats such as susuntukin kita or babarilin kita, these are unacceptable behavior. Jacob's primary questions were, who will move the process forward? Will parties support the process? So my answer on the first is that we need a group of elders, quote unquote. These are senior members of the cohorts of batches that were involved in the conflict. And these elders or seniors will act as facilitators of a healing and reconciliation process. And on the second question, will parties support the process? I was of the opinion that parties will welcome the chance for their stories to be heard. It turned out that I was wrong on that second opinion because one member, particularly on the anti-DDS camp, refused to participate in the process. However much negotiation I initiated. But after some deliberation, we settled on 4 members of the Elders Council or Mediation Committee. 2 from the anti-DDS side, 1 male, 1 female. They actually are a couple, no? And 2 from DDS side, both males. So it turned out that the DDS side are mostly from the south and the anti-DDS side are all mostly from Luzon. So yung 2 from the DDS side were from the south, ano? And myself and Jacob, we designated ourselves as facilitators of the negotiations and dialogues. We then proceeded on framing the issue. After some thought, we settled on this formulation because we call each other brothers and sisters, whatever type of organization you might have in UP, be it religious, academic, sociocultural, or sorority or fraternity, they call each other brothers and sisters, brads and sis, no? So the question is, how do we uphold the primacy of brotherhood and sisterhood despite political differences? So ganyan namin finrame yung issue. Ito yung process na dinaanan namin para ma-resolve yung mga sigalot. Una, the formation of an elders council or a mediation committee composed of persons deemed acceptable to both sides and who would like to help facilitate a healing and reconciliation process. So there were some changes along the way because one is perceived to be too hardliner, no? Hindi pwede kasi hindi siya makaka-facilitate sa healing and reconciliation process kung hardliner ka. So we chose elders that believe that a healing and reconciliation process should be facilitated and exhausted. So we drew up a list of members who were involved and adversely affected in the dispute. We came up with a list of about 14 people. And separate interviews and focus group discussions were conducted. First with the anti-DDS side and then with the DDS group. A very strong-minded anti-DDS refused to participate and we had to respect that. And in the process of interviewing and focus group discussions, we unearthed several below-the-belt offenses, including threats, like babarilin kita or susuntukin kita, name-calling, katulad nga yung sinabi ko kanina, bakla, tanga, bobo, gago, dirty tactics such as cutting and pasting posts to create false posts, and Lastly, red tagging. This is more particularly pronounced to resident brothers and sisters who are still students who came up with a statement that they are against the extrajudicial killings of the administration. And they were red tagged by some alumni members. So we summarized the issues and we came up with a code of ethics in short, no? From the summary of issues and recommended actions based also from interviews of both camps. So sa kanila nanggaling yung mga proposals on what behavior can be modified in order to show respect on each other's political beliefs. Among the recommended actions were, one, for instance, members should not mess with another member's wall. Your wall is your wall. You should be able to control what it contains. And therefore, you can police your own wall and remove those comments that are not according to your liking and entertain those that are healthy and according to your beliefs and convictions. Second, members should never resort to name-calling, maligning, and taunting. Again, you will notice that all of these codes of ethics were focused on behavior, no, not resolving the political difference, but on how each other should behave. Never ever threaten another member physical or psychological harm. Never red tag the members. Uphold code of conduct number 1, and give due respect to all members at all times. So what were the hindering and facilitating factors? As I mentioned, a prominent stakeholder refused to participate even with several overtures on my part. I probed and I encouraged him to participate, but he was close-minded already. He said, this is not the right time. This is, there will be, I promise you that there will be a time for dialogue, but not this time. So I think he is waiting for the changing of administrations for emotions to subside and for feelings to at least be more positive. Also, personal friendships with stakeholders facilitated the smooth conduct of interviews and focus group discussions. You remember, this is about a decade of cohorts of members. So we more or less have common experiences on mga salo-salo, mga paglabas-labas, mga pagbisita sa mga bahay ng mga kani-kanilang pamilya, mga out-of-town trips. So we have developed deep personal friendships, and this helped in the smooth conduct of interviews and FGDs. Different time zones called for creativity in scheduling. So with Zoom, we conducted mediation in the evenings. So on top of my work in MedNet and my consultancy contracts, I conduct mediation activities in the evening. And many caution that it may not succeed because of the strong emotions involved. But the mantra, proceed as if it is impossible to fail, was a rallying cry for myself. So these are the lessons, my takeaways from the experience. Political differences may result to unacceptable behavior and actions. While political differences cannot be mediated nor negotiated, behaviors and actions can be. Transparency in political beliefs on the part of the mediation committee and a balanced composition are facilitative. Next, a mediator skilled in conflict mapping is an invaluable resource. And lastly, a harmony approach was used, and it was a useful framework. So a harmony approach means what it entailed was going from one camp first to another without necessarily bringing them all together on the same table. The use of an elders council, quote unquote, or the senior members of the organization who somehow represent the goals and values of the organization and who are respected and who will be listened to, and the upholding of a common community values. That's the hallmark of the harmony approach. And to us, it's brotherhood and sisterhood. So that was useful to emphasize the common values of the community rather than different political beliefs which cannot be resolved. Yon, maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Maikli lamang po and I will welcome any comments and question. Maraming salamat po.
Yan, maraming salamat, Che. Very useful pa rin hanggang ngayon. Lalong-lalo na siguro ngayon dahil napakainit nung naging kampanya itong 2022 at saka naging napaka-controversial nung resulta niya, at least as far as those whose candidates did not win. No? Talagang malaki yung napakalalim nung naging divide, no? Naging political divide ng mga elections natin, especially the past two elections. Okay, so now let us open the floor to your questions and comments.
Maganda yung it will have a good big impact if it's a group, no? Ang group ang nag-uusap, magkakaroon ng and there's this agreement and change of behavior. On a personal level, Che, kung wala kang group na nasasalihan, but you also have strong emotions or mga ganon, malakas din yung political difference na nafe-feel mo versus the environment around you. Ano sa tingin mo ang dapat na behavior para ma-put across mo rin sa people around you, on a personal level, that you need for respect, yung change of behavior ba? Pero hindi to group action, kundi personal action.
Yes.
Ano sa tingin mo ang magandang gawin?
Well, first of all, you have to make a stand to say that let us treat each other with respect at all times, whatever your political belief may be. So I will resolve to perhaps put that in my wall on Facebook, that I respect your opinion, that I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it at every chance I get. It's in itself is a mediating behavior, no? When you say that you respect one's opinion, even if you don't agree with that opinion, it's a powerful statement to the other camp, which says that maggalangan tayo, ginagalang kita at naririnig kita kahit hindi ako nag-a-agree sa iyo. Yun lang yung simple kong contribution sa peace, no? I put it up on my wall and say to people on the other side that I respect your opinion. Siyempre, ginamit yung mantra, yung respect my opinion to block other people's openness, no? To signify closeness to other people's views. So, kaya yung respect my opinion, naging pangit ang connotation. But when I say I respect your opinion, it's a different matter. No? I respect your opinion. Iba,
Sala-
respect my opinion, it's closed. But when you say, I respect your opinion, it's a bit more conciliatory.
Well,
Yes.
on a personal level, check, pwede mo rin i-call out yung behavior na hindi ka nais-nais sa tingin mo. Now, for
Oo
you,
naman. I was the first to
within
call out the uncalled for behavior na walang ganyanan. Walang sakitan ng loob, respetuhan tayo, walang threats, walang name calling, walang below the belt yung threats talaga at saka yung maligning at saka name calling, taunting, no? Lalo-lalo na yung paglalagay ng false Facebook posts on behalf of another person from the other camp, no? So masyadong foul na yon. Kaya we had to put a stop, declare a ceasefire, wala munang sagutan sa walls, declare a ceasefire and say, let us undergo this healing and reconciliation process. And tumigil, no? Tumigil naman yung mga exchanges na hindi magaganda.
Okay. Let me just intervene, no? Kasi we have some questions here. But may tanong si Caramon and then I'll call on James ko. Sabi niya, so exactly ano ang naging resulta ng intervention ng mediation?
Oo, nag-come up with a code of ethics at itong code of ethics na ito ay ipinablish sa aming website, no? Yon ang naging resulta. At so far, wala pa namang skirmishes na nangyari after that intervention.
Thank you very much. James, please. Can somebody open the of James?
Hi, June.
Hi, James. Long time no see.
Thank you. Ang tanong ko actually similar sa notes ni Cesar sa chat, no. Tama ba siya na ang mini-date natin o yung gusto na yung in-attempt natin ayusin ay yung behaviors ng mga
Yes.
was there an opportunity na pag-usapan yung root issues mismo?
Hindi pa.
Or is it too toxic at this time?
It was
That
too
time.
toxic at that time kasi ang usapin ay rights, no? Ang pinaka matinding usapin ay yung red tagging at yung human rights. Kung ikaw ba ay pro Duterte, ibig bang sabihin ay kinukondone mo yung extrajudicial killings. Ang sabi nung iba, hindi kami naniniwala na may extrajudicial killings. Ang sabi nung iba, we please provide proof that there are extrajudicial killings. So, mga ganong exchanges. Ang venue for that, sabi ko, is different, no? Iba yung venue for pag-uusap ng ano yung ibig sabihin nito kung ikaw ay naniniwala sa human rights, no? Kung ikaw ba ay naniniwala sa human rights, ito ba ay isang immediate na pagtakwil sa present administration or not. So sabi ko, ibang usapin yon, ibang venue natin pag-usapan yon. Ang pag-usapan natin specifically ay behavior. Yung specific behaviors na toxic na hindi nakakatulong at nakakasama talaga sa aming mga relasyon. Doon kami tumuto.
James, naka-off ang mic.
Ay, last point lang pwede. Kasi again, in relation sa mga comments din sa chat na ang generally mga political beliefs na ay hindi yan manamimediate, no? Respect ang usually ang solusyon na gusto nating hanapin. Pero in this case, no, katulad ng example mo about extrajudicial killings, may aspect kasi doon na factual na kailangan imbestigahin. Diba? It's not a matter of belief kung meron o hindi. Kasi factual yan na pwedeng alamin. No? Pero you're right na your group was probably not the right forum. Pero yung kung in the greater society, kung ang issue ay extrajudicial killing, may yung mga ganyan na pwedeng i-examine factually. Yun, yung tanong ko lang kung may opportunity na kung is that a way also nga Para
Oo.
i-examine yung root na issues
Yes.
rather than just the behaviors.
Yes, that's a very interesting proposition that I wanted to put forward as well, to provide a venue for discussion on human rights in general and what it means to us. Pero dahil nag-change yung administration, I'm not sure how timely the discussion still is. We still have to monitor the the new administration's stance on human rights, for it to be provided a venue where consensus is possible. But to us, yung aming residenteng members, they took a stand already. So among the college students, meron silang position on the issue, but that's a position. And yun nga, as a consequence, na red tag sila. But I would like to put forward a proposition that there be, and I mentioned this already, that there be a discussion, a deeper discussion on what human rights mean to us and what does it mean that the past administration had factual instances of violations of human rights.
Okay.
Ang good outcome naman ay everybody became united under one candidate during the last election. Hindi ko na lang sasabihin sinong candidate.
Well, thank you very much, Che. No, I just want to make an intervention for Cesar Villanueva kasi nga pareho yung concern niya kay James, unless of course he wants to jump in and ask more questions on this, Cesar. Okay ka na ba? Nasagot na ba yung tanong mo? Okay.
John, okay naman, nasagot na. Salamat din for reiterating, James. Ganon din ang tanong kasi.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Okay, so JP Magdiwang is asking, though political differences are not mediatable, but the tools of mediation is useful in finding solutions for peaceful coexistence. Okay, behaviors can be modified pala. So that's that was a comment, not a question. But this your talk, Che, especially on yung intervention ni James at saka ni Cesar kanina, actually brings me back to our discussions yesterday. Remember yung talk ni David Fairman where he talked about changing perspectives, no? And then yung talk ni attorney Dana Batnag on what is the truth, no? What is real, no? It actually brings this conference to a full circle, kumbaga. Are there other questions? This is really interesting. Same candidate ang issue naman, ang iba nag-move on na, ang iba ayaw talaga, still creates tension in the group. Yes. It's the same sa group na ganyan din kami sa Palawan, James. May iba pa ba?
I think behavior, i-break down nyo yung actions on behaviors and focus on behaviors as well.
And then Ray Murillo, you're raising your hand.
Yes. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Because actually, Ma'am Che, hindi ako, siguro it can be a question in addition to parang more of like me processing it out aloud. Kasi like, I just also wonder po, like, there is definitely benefit in having people together, talk it out. But, the fear po of like, to respect someone's opinion in such a way that it might actually, though, yun nga, kasi mediator role po. Pero alam niyo, parang, might actually lead to a certain form of subjectivity. Kasi at the end po, if there are things that are not as much as we love the person or try to respect the person as a person, if there are certain things din kasi po talaga that are left to the wide realm of opinion, of like limited experiences, we see them talaga adding up to, again, to impunity, to hostility, to killing. So parang, lang po, parang, ina-imagine ko lang yung, paano nga ba ho yun? You want peace, but at the same time, what if that kind of mediation would actually lead to, parang like, somewhat undermining the gravity of those who belittle human rights. Or parang who do not think critically. Yun talaga naisip ko, what if it's a soft yes to lowering our standards. Yun yung iniisip ko.
You don't
Mm-mm.
standards, you don't but as a mediator, what is being asked of us is not to impose our own beliefs on the participants to the conflict. So what happened was that I and the other person represent also different positions on the divide. So it helped in that credibility that we are listening to both parties of both camps. So yun lang naman yung hinihingi, no? Napakinggan mo sila. At ang surface nga is nobody is condoning human rights. Nobody. But they don't believe that Duterte committed human rights violations. That's the problem. It's a data issue. Did he commit human rights violations or not? But nobody was condoning human rights violations, really.
Okay. And then related to that, si Cesar has a rejoinder. How do we factor in this conflict? How do we factor in this conflict the influence of social media which can distort the truths about factual issues? Can we float the idea that we are all influenced by social media in this conflict?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no. Maganda yung discussion ni Dana yesterday. That's why I'm saying we're doing full circle here because ito yung mga dinidiscuss ni Dana, and the beauty of it is that in the ano yung ginawa ninyo, code of conduct ni na Che, no? May mga points sila roon on social media, on the use of social media. Che, would you like to add more?
Yes, social media is both itself a factor and a venue for it's an arena for the conflict to occur. Doon nag-aaway sa mga Facebook walls. So, hindi ito verbal o hindi ito face to face na mga away, kundi through social media. So it's another dimension of social media as an arena, a venue for conflict to occur, not only as a source of conflict itself. So mas doon kami tumutok na how do you your behavior so that social media becomes not less of a tool for disunity among your ranks and for disregarding brotherhood and sisterhood principles. Mas doon kami nagtutok.
Okay. So, before we go, tapos na, no? Unless may iba pang interventions, wala na? Okay. Si Carol has this to say. I agree with Cesar. My own relatives from Mindanao are disseminating fake information, and when I call them out, like they're debunking of martial law, daming pumasok, bigla ako nawala. Martial law victims. I was told just respect us because that is the truth that we know. And then we go back to the discussion of Dana yesterday. Okay, meron din po diferensya ang opinion at historical facts. Lighting the color blue is an opinion. Blue is a color, is a fact. Hindi naniniwala that an event happened when there are legitimate evidences. Should not be an opinion. Yes, it's a data issue, but it's also a systemic issue, an education issue, a governance issue in the first place. How do we integrate all these societal factors kung paano tayo mag-mediate? Sabi ni Riza, tanong ni Riza Fausto.
Oo, it's a systemic issue, an education issue, a governance issue. Tama ka dyan. Because I was talking about a small organization, but that is a microcosm of what's happening in our society. No, so the same principles can be applied. No, how do we moderate our behavior so that people learn to listen to each other and learn to understand where each other is coming from and provide venues for discussion for particular issues to resolve data issue. Did human rights violations occur or not? Did martial law victims, were martial law victims tortured or massacred or not? These are a matter for investigation and fact-finding. And iba yung treatment doon sa treatment sa behavior, no? So, ihiwalay natin. Pag ang tawag doon ay paghimay-himayin natin kung ano yung pwedeng ma-negotiate at pwedeng i-fact find at hindi pwedeng ma-negotiate.
Maganda yung sinabi ni Che kanina that this is a microcosm. Ang maganda roon sa maliliit na organizations, controllable, no? Pwede kayo mag-usap. The problem with the societal, when you project it to the larger society, what you have is are several communities of people, some of whom are willing to talk, some of whom do not know how to talk, some of whom are not willing to talk, no? That really is a very big issue, and MedNet here is offering itself to be a venue for a service provider for people to be able to talk. The problem is paano natin gagawin ito, because these are data issues are among the easiest, di ba, to resolve, no? Kapag gumagawa tayo ng mediation, the problem is kung willing tayo makinig sa isa't isa. Okay.
Clyde.
Yes. Okay. Clyde. Cesar, pwede idagdag sa code of conduct ng org na ito ang rigor of facts and truths. Okay. Clyde.
Yes, habang nakikinig po ako, may pumasok lang sa isip ko na i-float na idea. Kapag ka ba or maybe baka magandang pag-isipan natin, no? Hindi naman natin kailangan i-resolve dito. Kapag ka meron tayong mga conflict na ina-handle na may kinalaman o nagagamit ang social media sa pagpapalaganap ng maling kampanya o tamang kampanya at nagsasalimbayan ng mga impormasyon at datos, factor ba kapag tinignan natin o sinuri natin ang isang conflict na may kinalaman doon sa familiar ba tayo doon sa algorithm ng social media? Yung merong isang sektor dyan sa social media na gusto talaga nila na hindi umaayon lahat ng mga comments sa bawat pinopost. Kinakailangan merong mga nagdi-disagree para dumami ang tick, dumami ang mga nagki-click, dumami ang kasi pinagkakakitaan ito. Komersyo na ito at dumadami yung ads kapag kaganyan. Thinking aloud lang ako, hindi ko alam kung isang bagay yun na kailangan tignan din natin na anggulo kapag sinusuri natin ang mga conflicts na lalo na kung tinutuntungan nito ay social media.
Okay. Maganda yung tanong ni Clyde, magandang pag-isipan, ano? Hindi nga lang ako nakakaintindi ng algorithm. hindi data gap yun sa akin, Clyde. Vocabulary gap.
Generation gap, Attorney June.
Oh, okay. Marisa, you're raising your hand. This is going to be the last question because, or comment, please.
Yeah. I know that in mediating and there are choices to be made. Ang ginagawa ng opposing parties is they define the criteria for decision making. So for instance, kung ang question is truth, totoo ba yan o hindi? Then one criteria could be, ano ang source? You can agree on anong source ang pwedeng paniwalaan ng both parties. Yun. So, those kinds of things na pag may criteria, they agree on the criteria so that when they process the different choices or the different opinions, dapat mag-fall dun sa criteria, and since they agreed to it, wala nang choice kundi sabihin, yeah, okay, tama yan. That's, yeah, ganun. So we can make use of that tool.
Che, your response? May
Dun sa criteria namin, ang ginawa naming criteria ay yung code of conduct itself ng organization. And ang ginawa rin naming criteria ay yung primacy of, does it uphold the primacy of brotherhood or sisterhood? Ganun ka-general lang yung criteria. But in terms of looking at factual allegations of human rights violations ba or not of the Duterte administration, hindi kami, isinantabi namin yung puntong iyon para makausad lang dun sa behavioral aspect, no? So, isinantabi sa ibang pag-uusap yung ano ba ang ating stand pagdating sa human rights violations ng current administration. Because apparently nga, wala namang nagsasabing pabor kami sa human rights violations. Lahat against. Lahat against. Ang tanong lang ay, meron nga bang human rights violations or not? And sabi namin, hindi yung organization namin ang kaya at that point to determine factually or not. Kailangan ng ibang venue for that.
Mm-mm.
okay.
Yun,
But-
pwedeng yung criteria kasi can be issue-based.
Yes.
So, hindi pa siya yung minimension ko, you use a criteria for that particular issue, yung ginawa yung behavior issue, no? So, a criteria is a very useful tool.
Thank
Basta
you very
agreed by
much.
both parties.
Thank you very much, Marisa. And we also would like to thank Che Aquino for her really very interesting presentation.